Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chelsea Perspective. Today, we're going to talk about Brazilian and Chelsea and Brazilian international defender Thiago Silva. His enduring career, his wife, why he's joined Chelsea, his influence on the current Chelsea team, his contributions in the UEFA Champions League in Chelsea's UEFA Champions League success. Also, why the club extended his contract. And I already have with me in the studio Ankit of RCBN Chelsea Fan TV. He's very, very, very knowledgeable of the game, and it's always a pleasure to have Ankit in the studio with me. Ankit, you're welcome once again to Chelsea Perspective.
Thank you, my man. And yes, definitely, a pleasure to be here again. Chelsea Perspective is one of the top channels, upcoming channels for sure. I can recommend you guys. And yes, it's a very interesting topic because Thiago Silva is the talk of the town, right? And
Yes.
coincidentally, just today. So that's something that I am really excited to discuss about. So
Awesome.
yes, I certainly see him as one of the inspirations, in the current side. And
Yes.
it's been a while that he's been an inspiration for the sides that he's played. So that's something that I would love to talk about.
Awesome, man. Always great to have you. I mean, if you look at the contrast between Chelsea's defensive record or defensive performance and the overall team performance before and after Thiago Silva was signed, you see everything that there is to know on how important he's become to this current Chelsea side. And overall, it just seems like he's been at the club for ages, whereas he's just, I think at most now it should be 8 months or so, or
Correct.
around that number. Yeah, which is amazing how he's adapted to the Premier League seamlessly, and he's also been integrated into the team seamlessly. I mean, it doesn't happen that much that often when players join new clubs. So I mean, it's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so I was watching one of the Thiago Silva's interviews, right? I'm sure like some of you might have also seen in the past.
Yes.
So when he joined Chelsea, ironically, he consulted Willian first. So I know that Willian was probably exiting Chelsea at the time, and this guy had just been in the finals of a Champions League, right? And that's where he probably would have got a phone call from Frank Lampard. And Willian obviously is a Brazilian, and having played so many years with him, without a shadow of a doubt, Willian, recommended highly of Chelsea, being here for 7-8 years. And I'm sure like he must have got a lot of input from Willian. Like, a lot of times we slander Willian, but I'm sure like these kind of things happen, behind the scenes.
Yeah, they
And
do talk to each other.
of course, like, being Brazilian, the most important thing was that Thiago Silva had never even, I think he never traveled to London, is what he said. That's something huge. So for him to kind of, embed the culture, and of course his family as well, like you said, right, Bere Silva and the entire his sons, they are so into Chelsea. The moment they came into Chelsea, they know what to expect. And especially again in the pandemic situation, right, for them to settle the way that they did is something commendable. I think we have to laud even Frank Lampard there, right, because Frank Lampard, although he's not played much with Thiago Silva, he's played a couple of games against, I think, when he played at the Maracana for England against Thiago Silva. And that's something that at least some familiarity is there. First of all, Frank Lampard is a legend himself in terms of playing. So Thiago Silva, kind of looked upon him, and vice versa, because Thiago Silva was also a legend. But for Frank Lampard to know him and having played against him helps, so that he could kind of feel like a friendly feeling. And that's something that I'm sure Frank Lampard and the management kind of helped him early on, and for him to settle so well, like you said, like, within 8 months, what he's become and his family has become to Chelsea, it seems like he's always been here.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. And actually, I have to be honest, I was concerned that when the talks were broke, when the news broke that we were going to sign him, I was concerned because he has a good relationship with David Luiz. So I was concerned that Luiz might discourage him from joining Chelsea at that point. And the whole saga about David Luiz's departure from Chelsea was still fresh at that point, So I was happy we got him because I knew before time what he can offer to the club and how he can influence the younger players at the club. So it's a steal. It's an absolute steal from Chelsea Football Club, because he could have gone to places like the United States where they pay in bulk, and they pay quite a lot of money for players, Yeah, so that's good to know. And what do you think? I was going to ask you, what do you think about his enduring career? His career spans to around a decade and a half, which is 15 years or so. It's amazing. Right. Most players don't last that long, no matter how young you started playing.
Right. I think one of the key reasons to that is obviously his fitness, but the fact that he's been so long and he's been very stable. If you see, he was in Brazil for I think almost a decade. Yes. And he was in the youth setup, and then I think briefly he was in Porto for about 6 months, and then he kind of went back to Brazil, and then he obviously, the big move for him in Europe was the AC Milan move, and AC Milan at the time.
Hold on, thank you for bringing that up. He actually went back to Brazil before signing for AC Milan.
Yes, he did.
Wow, I really didn't know that happened, and most people probably wouldn't know that aspect of his. Wow, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. So, and not only that, he also played, I think he had a couple of spells.
Big up, guys.
Hey, big up, man. So, what I'm saying is he also had a couple of spells, I think, if I'm not wrong, in Moscow. But for him, the big move really was the AC Milan move.
Moscow also.
Yes, Dynamo Moscow is what he played for. And then the big move for him was the AC Milan move. So at the time, AC Milan really needed a captain, because they had just kind of, I think, a few of them had retired, right? All the big guns, so as to speak, were either in the last season or they were about to retire, right? And that's when they needed a leadership in Thiago Silva, and that's where he really formed that thing that, okay, he can even lead a side, because he was there in AC Milan for about 3.5 years. Yeah. And in fact, the last time that AC Milan actually won the league was under Thiago Silva. So that speaks very highly of him, because I think he won the league with AC Milan in the second or third season, right, which was great in itself. And then probably, he thought, AC Milan obviously did not have the money, and, not signing the big players. And I think he was kind of coming to the end of the contract, and PSG were the growing giants in world football. So he moved to PSG. And again,
quite a lot of money for him.
Absolutely right. But PSG, the fact is, he could have again left PSG and moved to an English or say a Spanish club, because Barcelona, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Manchester clubs are already big, early 2010, 12 kinds, right? So, but he did not do that. He actually stayed in PSG for I think close to 8 years again. So that shows this guy is a team man. He has been a leader wherever he's been, right? And he's actually lived there, and obviously his family also supported him. But him actually moving to different places and staying there for a long while shows the kind of character that he has and the team spirit that he can bring to the team. And that is one of the reasons why I think Lampard and the team management would have gone for him at the time. In spite of being 36, I think we all saw in the final against Bayern Munich, he was one of the better players for PSG. And I think it was the right back. I don't recall the name right now, but the right back of PSG is a person, I think, who made the mistake. And unfortunately, Thiago Silva did not achieve his dream. And of course, with Tuchel also not being at PSG, it was a blessing in disguise that he's reunited with Tuchel. And I think these two had to kind of come together to win the Champions League, which they did not do last year.
Yeah, it was. It's only natural with humans when you miss something, either by any circumstances. If you get the chance to go at it again, it's difficult. That is, you hardly fail, as an individual. So I think it was overall Tuchel's sacking by PSG and Thiago Silva's departure also both have been an immense blessing for Chelsea Football Club, and I think we should. Yeah, I think they played a significant role in our success in the Champions League. So that's great to see. Nizayon, welcome to the stream, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. It's a pleasure to be here and join my wonderful brother LCBN.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I guess you're aware of the topic.
Yes, I'm aware aware of it, but if you can give me
we're
gist
talking
of it.
about Thiago Silva, his enduring career. Well, that's where we are at right now at the stream. His wife. We're going to talk about his wife, Bella Silva. We're also going to talk about why we think, or from your perspective, why he joins Chelsea, his influence on the Chelsea sport, his contributions to Chelsea's Champions League success for 2020-2021. Also, why the club extended his contract. But right now, we're talking about his enduring career. So, what do you think about his career? It spans around to about 15 years, and that's long, and he's still going.
Yeah, a player like Thiago Silva's caliber is hardly to find it. There are not that many in the market. There are not that many in the world of football. You barely see players like Thiago Silva, people like Ronaldo, Olivier Giroud. I'm talking about players with much experience that have clocked the age of 35 and still playing active football. Not just active football, but much more competitive football. Thiago Silva is not just an ordinary player. Thiago Silva comes with much more of experience, leadership role, and you see his entire career. You wouldn't hear much of things that you could hear. Let's say legendary Maradona. You could hear he was being tagged with drug issues here and there. You not
one controversy or the other.
Controversy or the other. You could hear lots from. Although you can see Zlatan Ibrahimovic is an animal, like you said, he's a beast. But you hear certain things on the football pitch, how he keep bullying other players by physically when the camera is off away from him, how he keeps slapping people from behind and kicking people in their legs and that kind of thing, using his stature, his height and ability to bully people, not in the right way, but then bullying people for bullying's sake. Those things are not tied to Thiago Silva. And also the antics on the football pitch. It's not added to his career. And also we see stuff like Neymar, what Neymar goes through. Thiago Silva doesn't go through those elements. You cannot say anything about Thiago Silva and say much of a negativity about him. So Thiago Silva also have worked with Thomas Tuchel, as we all know. And then the profile Thiago Silva coming to Chelsea, he already know. I don't think you're there right now, right? You haven't dealt into that aspect yet. So I don't want to go too far. You're talking about his.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine, brother.
Okay, like I said, Thiago Silva coming to Chelsea has Tuchel. He's worked with a wonderful coach at PSG, and I knew before Thiago was going to leave PSG, he was not having the best of happiness at PSG from Leonardo. Leonardo was not willing to extend his contract. He was willing to leave because he's been with PSG for quite a long time. And Tuchel knows what he can provide to Chelsea. And Tuchel also coming to Chelsea, he knew that, as he said, Chelsea is a team that is built and has all the elements to be able to make any coach. Either you can win the Champions League, you can win many trophies with Chelsea, even if you're not a world-class coach, because Chelsea is built for that aspect. So he said Chelsea has all the elements that can make every coach successful. So then Thiago Silva also know the DNA of Chelsea. He's coming here. He's not just coming here to for money, but then he wants to win. He wants to be able to build momentum towards the World Cup and also be able to build that aspect and win the Champions League. Before he retires. So he has an aim. He has an achievement that he wants to achieve before coming to Chelsea Football Club. So this is what I can say right now for Thiago's career.
Amazing. You hit the nail right on the head when you talked about Thiago Silva not being tagged with such tag as being arrogant or being a bad boy, a bully, which is very common with football superstars, especially those who are in his category, who's won virtually everything there is to win in football. But he's not that type of player. He's very humble and always willing to carry along the younger players in the team, and just like Reece James said, that he's carried him and he's coached him. He's told him what he's doing right and what he needs to do better. And that's not easy. So it's not just about him. He's always, participating actively, whether he's in the team, whether he's out of the team. You'd see him passionately reaching out to his teammates, telling them what to do to ensure they come out victorious at the end of each game. So Nizar, thank you very much for that input. It was great to listen to you, and also to talk about the aspect of him not being tagged with a bad boy or tagged a bad boy or bully or whatsoever. So another thing that I wanted to talk about right now is his wife. What an amazing woman she's been, at least towards the way we see it. It's just like, it seems like she's been, she and her husband have been at the club for like a million years. Like we've established it's just a few months. She's everywhere. She's mingling with the fans. You see her sing the club's anthem. You see her playing with the fans. You see her passionately following the game, supporting the team, even when her husband isn't playing. That's amazing to see. Right. I mean, all the other players, they do have wives. We don't hear about them. We don't see their tweets supporting the club. Maybe we're paying attention to that of Thiago Silva because maybe let's say the reputation of her husband or so. But it's amazing to see. What do you have to say about Bella Silva?
It's so Bella Silva's influence in Thiago Silva. It's so easy. Let me say this. A lot of people take it in a different way, depending on where you're coming from.
One second, brother. Just shout out to Lee Sule. Happy to see that you're available to follow the stream today. And also Steve Chelsea, welcome to the stream. And again, Lee Sule, welcome to the stream, brother, and enjoy yourself. And if you have any question, please throw it in the chat, and we will try to answer it. And if you want to join the stream, I'll put the link to the panel in a few minutes. So go ahead, Nee. Sorry for interrupting you.
It's okay. Yeah, what I was saying is with Bella Silva's issue with some fans and his contribution to Thiago Silva's life, it depends on how you're looking at and where you're coming from, your culture. If you're coming from a culture that women play much of a role in your life or in the culture, then you should see the influence of Bella Silva. It's much more a positive thing in his life. And I'll tell this to a lot of people that are watching the stream and those that are in the chat. Our women play lots of role in our life, depending on how you see it. My success in life wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be that much of successful without my wife, without my woman. You see all my decorations and stuff like that. I come up with idea, and she comes up with idea where to put them. I have the idea, but she said, put this here, and that makes what my success has been. And as I also said, without Bella Silva, Thiago Silva wouldn't be where he is. Without a very responsible woman, most of our men goes the wrong way. If you're really responsible man, you should be able to listen to your wife, because as in our culture, we say that you don't see what is behind you. Let's say you're wearing you're wearing the pants. You bought some new pants, and then you start somewhere, and the back of your pants is dirty. You wearing the pants, we didn't know how dirty the pants are. But then the one behind you,
that's an African saying, and I'm very well aware of that. Go ahead, Nee.
Yeah, if you're walking with the ripped pants and there's a hole in your back of your pants, you don't see it. But the one behind you would say, "Hey, brother, hey, sister, you get a hole in your pants." See, it's the same thing. If we, the men, we're doing something and we don't have anyone responsible to tell us, "Hey, you're going in the wrong direction," even when they tell us and we don't listen, we end up falling. So that Thiago Silva's, the way we see Thiago Silva now, it's not just Thiago Silva doing whatever he's doing. It is the help of his wonderful wife. So whatever Bella Silva is doing on the internet, I support her. I don't see that I don't see that to be negative at all, but I see it to be positive. You look at certain clips of Thiago Silva, what things that he's done. I mean, we wouldn't know the entire story, the successful story of Thiago Silva, but I don't think he's been successful without Bella Silva. So I support whatever she's doing in social media.
Very well said. Very well said, Nizai, and I appreciate your input. And before we continue, I'd like to give a shout out to Wakimu. He's a very one of the biggest Chelsea fans that I know. And he's a great follower of the club. He's been following the club since I knew him, and probably started following the club even before we met. Wakimu, welcome to the stream, my brother. You can also join the panel if you want to. I will share the link to the panel in a few minutes. So I'd really appreciate it if you can join the stream. All right, let's continue. Ankit, to you, what do you think about Bella Silva? And also, welcome to the stream, Tyrone.
Hi, Tyrone.
Yeah.
Always good to have you, my brother.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure. So, see, with Bella Silva, one thing like Nizayon said, right? Definitely the role that she's played has been immense right from the very beginning. But to me, it somehow seems like she is a Chelsea fan. Like, I don't know. And she's probably went on record saying that Chelsea is a dream club, right? And that is something that is quite evident because the very first video that, if you remember, she did with her sons is them actually removing the PSG jersey and putting on the Chelsea jersey. You don't do that unless you are a real fan, right? As in, so she actually is a Chelsea fan, and she is living that dream of becoming a Chelsea fan, living in Chelsea in London, and actually having a husband kind of being such an integral part of the Chelsea Football Club is something that we are really seeing. And of course, like every game, the way that she pumps up, obviously on social media, and now even like the crowd, like we saw in the last couple of games, right? I think she was a catalyst to basically, us actually, having that confidence. I think right in the Champions League final, I think even 3 hours before the final, I think all the videos and stuff started on social media. So for me, actually, Bella Silva has had a huge, role to play in Thiago Silva. Of course, when it comes to locations, it's extremely important for the family to be very comfortable, and for them to actually, move from say Paris to London was a big deal in itself, right? I'm sure, like all of them are not very fluent in English because that's not the first language. But again, I don't think that has been like any kind of a stopgap, any kind of a hurdle. They have taken it with open arms and just lived the dream. And same with the sons. I would actually also say that I don't know the name of the sons. I kind of miss them, but definitely Bella Silva and the sons are basically true fans. It really shows. You cannot really fake that for so long. It shows that they are fans of Chelsea and they want to be here for a long while. And it's great that now I'm sure that we're going to talk about it, that we are looking at them for at least another year.
Kuchula, we can hear you.
I think he's on mute.
Yeah, I was on mute, sorry. Ankit, I was saying that I appreciate your input. It's always good to listen to you talk Chelsea, the players itself. Your knowledge of the club is amazing, and that's why I always strive to have you be part of every live stream that's scheduled in Chelsea Perspective. Thank you very much again. And there seemed to be a little bit of banter here between a Manchester United fan, Lee Sule, and the Chelsea fan, Wakimu. So we will always support our own. So Wakimu, we're with you. Don't mind Lee Sule. So before we continue, I'd like to talk about something that Baggy said here. It's important. It's just simply put, behind every man, every great man, every successful man, and in this case, behind every successful player, there is a woman. And that brings us to the issue we had with Courtois, whose complaint was that his wife is in Spain with his kids, that he had to move to Spain or something like that. So because it's easy for these things, for players to have issues with their partners, life partners, or maybe girlfriends, and then it becomes a problem for them to even join your club. But in this case, we see a woman who's very happy to move with her husband to Chelsea FC, and she said quite a lot of great stuff about Chelsea, and that is always good to see. So yes, Baggy, thank you very much, and it's always good to have you around. It's a great way to put it, and the sweetest way to put it, actually, that behind every great man, behind every player there is a woman. Thank you very much, Baggy, for that contribution. So, Tyrone, I am sure you are aware of the topic.
Yeah, I am.
And by the way, Tommy, the Chelsea FC fan, welcome to the stream. Always good to have you around. And if you want to join the panel, let me know. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, Tyrone. What you have to say about Thiago Silva's enduring career, and what you have to say about his wife, Bella.
Well, Thiago Silva has been around for a very long time. He has been the captain for Brazil on many occasions and everything. And there's always this debate around if he was, if you could consider him at the same level as Ramos, because he hasn't won the Champions League and he hasn't really won a lot of things internationally with Brazil. However, I mean, he's taking that away. He's still a great defender. He's a terrific leader because he has helped Marquinhos when he was at PSG. He has helped David Luiz as well, and the other Brazilian youngsters were not only defenders but as the attacking players as well. And as a result, they always come on. They say that they have this respect for him. So he's a great leader, and he's also impacted some of the players at Chelsea as well. Well, not some, or most of them. Especially the defenders as well, especially like Christensen and players like that, because they say that they feel comfortable. And like I heard you say with Reece James, and saying that he helps him, like to tell him what he's doing wrong, what he needs to improve on, what he's doing great, because there's a lot of great things about Reece James. But at the same time, his wife, the first video I actually saw of her was her complaining about Timo Werner not doing the goal. So it was hilarious. But I mean, it shows that she has the love, and not only her, the entire family, because when you won Real Madrid, the way they were going on, the celebration in Portuguese and everything. And I think it was Nizaya that was saying it. It's not, or I might be wrong, but someone was saying that, I mean, the way that they react, to each game, and the fact that they, not only when Thiago Silva isn't playing, because there's been videos of when Thiago Silva got arrested, and he was sitting and he was watching the game. She was still there. She was still talking, and she was like, "Let's go," and all those type of things. And like Baggy said, and like what you guys were saying as well, behind every great man there is a woman, and you can see that the difference between Courtois and Thiago Silva is that his partner is supportive of him, and even though there's a lot of things that can happen, especially with her life, because she has her own job as well. So the fact that she can take the time to do that, and the fact that she was just acceptable of Thiago Silva leaving and joining him, leaving everything she had like that. So it's really commendable, and it just shows that things like that is a great example of how a marriage should be.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tyrone. I appreciate you taking time to also present your input from a very unique perspective by ending it with that's a great example of how a marriage should be, because a marriage can make or break your career, whatever you do in life. If you're not happy at home, you most definitely, it will whatever you're going through at home usually reflect on how you deal with other people outside your home. So thank you very much for putting it that way, and from a very unique perspective that we all can learn from. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Can you, Ankit, I don't know if there's a question here. Can you quickly give us a roundup of the transfer updates so that we can address this question from Tommy, the CFC fan?
Yes. So basically, obviously, the big news actually are the deals that we've had, right? The new deals for Thiago Silva and, of course, Olivier Giroud. So with that, obviously, the transfers that we were going for are actually kind of gloomy right now. because the way it seems like, I know Antonio Conte to Spurs is still not over the line. I believe there is a rumor that he's not happy with some terms and conditions or not being able to get enough players. So in case that, I think it kind of hinges on that. In case Antonio Conte stays, I think, in Spurs, what I believe is, rather signs for Spurs, I believe that Kane will stay in Spurs, because Antonio Conte's bet will be that we'll go for the league, and that's what Kane wants. But if in case the deal doesn't go through, then I can see obviously Kane moving to Man City as speculated, and that's where we would be going for Haaland. And then if we go for Haaland, Giroud, who's just extended, might be let go if we get an offer. So the catch here is again that it's been told by, I think, again, it's not officially told, but I believe Simon Phillips has told that basically we will go for, we will be able to sell Giroud if we get an offer from a foreign club. So that means very clearly that Chelsea are happy to keep Giroud for another season and play a second fiddle striker. But if in case, we get a club, say in AC Milan as speculated, that we may let Giroud go. But the idea of signing the contract was because in case we are not able to get Haaland, then what, right? We need a striker, and of course Giroud knows the club very well. So I think in striking options, I think it's between Haaland and Giroud, the way I see it. Lukaku obviously has said that he's going to stay, so I don't see him kind of materializing with Inzaghi going there. In midfield, we are still going for, I believe, either Declan Rice or Tchouaméni. Declan Rice, it comes down to the price that West Ham are able to, accept from Chelsea. If it's anywhere north of 60 million, I think Chelsea rather go for Tchouaméni, who is having a lot of potential as well, and will probably come at 30 or 40 million. So I think that is about it. In defense, strangely, we are not really linked very strongly to any players yet.
Yes, and plus,
I don't see any need for many defenders really.
And plus, Thiago Silva's contract extension to 2022, which is relevant to this stream because we are talking about him, but we'll still talk about that towards the end of the stream. Ike, thank you very much for taking the time to give us an overview of what's going on in transfer. Before we continue, I'd like us all to see this, and condolences to Steve Chelsea for the loss of his uncle. He's been a great part of the Chelsea community. You see him on Baggy TV streams, Knee Zion, Fans FC, and Green Turf, and also I think I've seen him make his comments on your channel. He's also on Tide Talks. Steve Chelsea, my condolences to you and your family for the loss of your uncle. Sorry to hear that. So the next question we have here is we can say stating the obvious. Let me say the question states the obvious, or asked the obvious, or you probably know the answers already, but I'd like to hear from you as individuals to express your opinion on why you think Thiago Silva joined Chelsea. Nia, I'll start from you. Nia, it looks like your mic is muted.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
I'll go back to what I said previously, like I said, that if you've worked with a trusted manager before, just like we've seen in the past that managers move around, and whenever they move, they take certain players with them. It's a trust that Thomas Tuchel had built in Tiago. He knows what Tiago can offer when he played with him at PSG. So coming to Chelsea, he also knows that Chelsea need defensive stability, which he needs a commanding and then a leader in the defense that can be able to put the defense on his toes. So coming in, talking to Tiago, and Tiago also, well, why would he hesitate? He didn't hesitate at all. He said, "Man, I've worked with you before. We've achieved. So we're able to go to."
Yeah, but you have to remember. I think I've made that mistake before, mixing up who came to Chelsea first, Tuchel or Silva. So I've made that mistake before, and it's easy. Yeah, it's easy
Yeah.
to make that mistake. It was Tiago came to
Tiago that
Chelsea.
came first. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, go ahead with your answer.
Well, but this we should take it this way. We should all remember that Abramovich himself and the whole entire Chelsea team and Chelsea board have been looking at this man, this coach, for quite a long time. So I could say we wouldn't know everything. I could tell you that there could be behind the scene talk that, hey, I'm coming, but I need this guy to be there. Can you get this guy in the January transfer for me so I can work with him? Because I knew that at that time too, Thiago Silva was not willing to renew his contract with PSG, and then Leonardo, whatever his name is, that controls PSG's players and transfer thing, they were not willing to work with Thiago anymore. So it was very easy for Thiago to move from PSG to Chelsea. And also when he got there, it was also easy for them to bring in Thomas Tuchel. So I think that Thiago already know the pedigree of Chelsea. So coming to Chelsea was something that was very easy for him because he knew he have to win trophies, and Chelsea will give you that opportunity to win trophies. It's happened with lots of players that have moved from their clubs to Chelsea. We see it happen from Cesc Fabregas, Olivier Giroud, William from wherever he's coming from has won lots of premiums. Ashley Cole, yes, all these players have proven that when you will. Timo Werner also, like I said, I don't want to go to Timo Werner because it's another issue for another time. He moved. When he said was not going to go to the Champions League, continue the Champions League with RB Leipzig, lots of pundits was on this guy. But then look, he moved from RB Leipzig, came to Chelsea, won the Champions League. How many players are able to do that? Move from one team, goes there and win the Champions League. Move from one team, goes to Chelsea and win the Premier League.
Who knows?
Nicola Conte won with Leicester City. He came to Chelsea, won again with Chelsea. It's always proven the way we control our team always work for us. We have to continue that trend. Let it go like that. So
who knows? Probably could have. Who knows? Probably RB Leipzig could have gone further.
I'll come to you in a bit, Tyron. Sorry. Before we continue, shout out to Kizito Onago for joining the stream. You're always welcome. And if you'd like to join the panel, I will share the link to the panel in a few minutes.
Coachella, I'll join you. Coachella, I'll join you back again in about a few minutes.
No problem, brother. You're always welcome.
I hope you get what I mean. I'm trying to do something here, but you can tell that something's messing up on the stream.
No problem, I understand. So you might want to use another browser. I know what the problem is. Just go to an entirely new browser where you're not logged into StreamYard.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
So I'll get them there.
Understood.
Okay.
No problem. I understand. Tyron, over to you.
Well, like Nizan was saying actually about, him not wanting to sign an extension as well, which also, it could also be that he was, he wanted a change because he has been there for a long time, so probably wanted a change. And with Lampard, because Lampard played an important role in terms of persuading the players to come in. So what Lampard probably told him about what his plans were for the future and what he wanted to do with his help, because having an experienced defender could have helped them as well, because they didn't really have the opportunity to really get a defender. So the best option was Thiago Silva because he would have been available. And I mean, the plan, or the project that Lampard probably wanted to do, probably persuade him to make the move.
Perfect. Thank you very much for explaining that, Tyron. And before we continue, please, if you have a question, and I am seeing your question, and just to ensure that we are on topic, I will leave the questions towards the end of the stream, and we will try the best we can to answer all questions in the stream. But right now, we need to stick with the topic so we're not everywhere. Okay? Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. So what I wanted to add is like to the guys just spoke about, right? So it's in Thiago Silva's DNA, like what Drogba has said the other day, right? This guy has actually won a trophy for the last 11 years, right? He's not a single season, like right from the time that I spoke about in AC Milan when he left. he won a trophy. I think he won the league and then the cup, and then obviously Paris won trophies for fun, right? PSG, that is. So he's literally won, I think, about 31 major trophies in his career, including national team as well as club, right? So that is something that Lampard really wanted at the time, and of course the board as well, because if you remember, last season was one of the very rare seasons that we did not win a trophy. Especially it showed in that FA Cup final, right, where we got the lead and then kind of gave it away, and then we didn't have the leadership at the back who knows how to come back from that and actually get the win in a major final. That is something that Thiago Silva brings to the table, right? Like even when he signed, I think with Lampard, I think at the time he was the most important signing, and of course till date he even is, along with Mendy. But at that time, if you remember, he was, I think, signed before Mendy. And last season, what was a major issue? Our major issue, anyone could tell, was our defense, right? And Ben Chilwell, as much as he was great going forward as a left back, at least for Leicester, he wasn't renowned for his defensive capabilities as much, right? So a central defender with a lot of calm to the table is what we wanted, and a Rolls Royce of a player what Thiago Silva was. Like, I think he's probably the best mentor. Like Tyrone has already touched upon that, but I would put it in different terms, right? So he is the best mentor for Andreas Christensen, right? Christensen's game. I think the game, a classic example can be the Liverpool game, for example, right? The mistake that he made early on in the season against Liverpool. I don't see those kind of mistakes happening with Thiago Silva being next to him. You know what I mean? So that is something that I think over the course of the season, Christensen has really learned and he's come up trumps. And today, like in the final, you saw that he seamlessly replaced Thiago Silva. I think that is, a tribute to Thiago Silva's legacy that he's got already in 7 to 8 months. I think that is the prime reason why we got him, and we've ticked that box. Now the challenge for him is still, which is left, is to win the Premier League, right? Which he hasn't done either. So that is another reason for him to be extended for that year that we just did, right? So let's hope that he gets that, and he has to perform very well, because I believe he has gone on record saying that he wants to play for Brazil in the 2022 Qatar World Cup, right? So I see him still being an integral part. I think one of the people in the chat did mention about him playing 2 years. Yes, why not? Like, let's see, 1 year for sure. He's already been extended. But I see him being very fit. Like, he's one of the fittest people. Of course, not being able to play every game. But like John Terry won a Premier League with us in 2017. That's what the role Thiago Silva can play. And I think in the very first month itself, when he came to Chelsea, he started learning English. I think he also kind of, went on in social media and showed that. So that shows that he wants to stay here for long term.
Thank you very much, Ankit. I appreciate that. Tyrone, I'm going to start with you with this question. Are you still there with us, Tyrone? All right, Ankit, while we wait for Tyrone, the next question or in the item that we have to discuss is, can you talk about his influence on the current Chelsea team, the younger players and the overall team, the team performance, defensive performance, whatever perspective you want to take it from? Over to you, Ankit. Looks like you're muted.
Is it fine now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, so I think we already touched upon Christensen and James already benefiting from Thiago Silva's presence, right? I think along with the youngsters in defense, I would also quickly touch upon like how Azpilicueta and Rudiger's game has improved, right? So if you see last season, a lot of times we could see, Dave and Rudiger kind of shouting at Kepa, and things were not really, very like harmonious, so to speak, on the pitch at times, especially against Liverpool and games like that, right? So that's where Thiago Silva, the way he's calm, has actually, really been contagious to the team. Him being a leader has helped not only them, the senior players, as well as the youngsters in defense, but if you see Mason Mount, he's talked very highly of Thiago Silva. Like even in the Champions League final, one of the first people, apart from like the Cobham boys, Mason Mount went to celebrate with was Thiago Silva. So that shows that Mason, these other people who are also in the front line are being spoken to by Thiago Silva in training, and maybe off the pitch as well, off training as well, because I believe that we needed some voice. Even in games like when Jorginho plays, he is usually the voice. Aspilicueta is definitely a great captain, but he's not that outspoken vocal guy on the pitch. So Thiago Silva brings that to the table because he is a central defender. He kind of tells the attack where to go. He directs them literally. So him and Jorginho, again, both speaking Portuguese, I believe should help as well, especially in the initial months. And that has kind of, translated in the team kind of understanding what the defense is like, why we are playing that high line, how we are kind of, moving forward. Even people like Timo Werner, I think all the other new signings, the youngsters have signed, Kai Havertz, with Thiago Silva coming into Chelsea newly, they are seeing that, okay, here's a player who's actually just signed just like us 7 to 8 months ago. But him and his family are kind of, feeling very much blue. So that rubs on to the other players automatically. I don't think Thiago Silva even needs to do much. So he leads by example. And if you see
his presence means a lot. Go ahead.
Of course, yeah. And like even if say Aspilicueta, for example, is not there and Jorginho is not there, I think Thiago Silva was a captain for one of the games even. So he can definitely play that role. Speculation is again that Jorginho might leave. There's a 50-50 chance, right? So Thiago Silva has got to be a vice captain if Jorginho leaves for me. Of course, Mason Mount is the next long-term captain, but Thiago Silva is the leader already.
His pedigree speaks for him. He's won quite a lot, and with his trophy cabinet, whenever he speaks, the dressing room listens, no matter who you are, because none of them can measure what he's achieved in football as an individual, but still he's so humble. He's not working around with his shoulders trying, high or something like that. He just keeps to himself, and then he does whatever he can do to help the team do better. So very well put, Ankit. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about his influence on the current Chelsea squad. Nizayan, I'm coming back to you. Can you hear me, brother?
Yes.
Before we go to Tyron, yeah. So right now we're talking about Thiago Silva's influence on the team as a group, and also his influence on certain individuals. Like we've talked about before, Reece James said that Thiago Silva has, when he was asked who's had the most influence in his career at Chelsea, that's to be specific, and he said Thiago Silva, and that's amazing to hear because he's worked under some coaches in the academy. He's also worked under Frank Lampard. He could have said Frank Lampard, but he said Thiago Silva. He picked Thiago Silva as the person that's had the most influence in his development at Chelsea, saying Thiago Silva has taken him under his wing, he's coached him, he showed him, told him what he's doing better, he's doing well, and what he needs to do better. And that's not easy, for somebody to come into the club for just a few months, and a player will be saying such about him. So that's awesome to see. So Nizayan, from your perspective, how do you see? I'd like you to talk about Thiago Silva's influence on the team as a group, and his influence on some individuals.
It's sometimes it's very difficult to say much about behind the scenes. You barely hear much of behind the scenes, but what I see on the pitch is his inclusion in the back four makes Chelsea much more stronger. It made when just example what we saw in the finals when Thiago Silva got injured. It gave no room for Christensen, whoever is coming to take his position. There was a lot of pressure on you to be able to fill in the gap that Thiago Silva was leaving on the field, because what it says to you, the signal that is sent to you is, I can't put a foot wrong. I cannot put a foot wrong. I can't make any mistake. And before Christensen set a foot on the pitch, he had that in the back of his mind, that if I make any mistake, and that which will result to Chelsea losing this competition, I will be dead. So him coming on, the leadership, and then also the experience that Thiago Silva had on the pitch, he left everything on the shoulders of Christensen. So that influence that Thiago Silva had with the team, he took it spiritually, physically, and then mentally. So I'll say that his influence on the pitch, it's almost very high. It's always very high, about 90%. So a lot of defenders are learning from him, and they command that. And people also listen to him because he's been respected by a lot of people. Even outside the pitch, just like me, I respect him a lot. Even though I don't know him, I don't play with him, but I give him so much respect. So yeah, his influence in the team is very, very high. He's one of the main reasons why we won the competition.
Very well said, Nee. I appreciate your input in that aspect. Thank you very much. Tyrone, are you still with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, crystal clear. So I'd like you to talk about Thiago Silva's influence on the team as a group and his influence on some individuals. And that's it. Over to you, Tyrone.
Okay, so as I was saying before, with with Christensen in particular, like Nizar mentioned, the thing with Thiago Silva and Christensen is, when I remember the first time when Christensen came on for Thiago Silva, and that was the Spurs game. After I don't know what he did, he pulled a hamstring or something, and he came on. And I saw Thiago Silva say something to him. I don't know what it was, obviously, but he said something to him, and he just nodded his head, and he just came on. And I mean, it has to do with him, probably speaking to him on the training ground, helping him, because I'm pretty sure he knows about the mistake he made against Liverpool, with Mane and everything, and the other mistakes he made in the past as well. So, he's trying to help him, especially with the fact that they have similar roles, being, a ball-playing defender. So, he sees him, he's young, and not only like Rich James, he can also be taking players under his arms as well, and, helping them, especially with the part of the games that they're lacking, and that's, being comfortable when under pressure. And that's something that you see Christensen is improving on. And sometimes he even said this once, that sometimes he imitates the way Thiago Silva plays. Like if there's a situation, or if there's a scenario where he's being pressured, he tends to do what he thinks Thiago Silva would do. So in a way, it also has to do with being a leader, and also being an example, because it shows that Christensen is able to look at his gameplay and adapt some of it and add it to the weak side that he used to have.
Perfectly put, Tyrone. Thank you for taking the time also to talk about that. So we move to the next item in the topic that we have to discuss, and this is probably will be much more. It's not going to be easy to answer, but I know we all know the game quite well, and we followed his stay at Chelsea since his arrival to know enough to talk about the topic. And the question is his contributions to Chelsea's Champions League success. Ankit, I'll start with you. Can you please talk about that?
Right. I think we've kind of touched upon, again, off the pitch, the whole idea about him being so experienced, having won big trophies. I think the most recent biggest trophy that he's won, apart from obviously in France, has been, I think, the Copa America, if you remember, in 2019. Those are things that you cannot buy. You just cannot buy. He was a free transfer and you cannot just buy that. But on the pitch, right, as in the fact that we play the system that Tuchel plays, and then for him, he's probably the best in the world, even today, at 36 years of age, I would say he's probably the best in the world to play in the center of a back three. And I genuinely believe it. Especially more so because of being in the Chelsea team, we had Mendy just behind. I know Mendy has been great and we've already spoken about that in the past. But I think Mendy gets probably 10 times more confidence seeing Thiago Silva in front of him, and keeping that high line that we briefly spoke about previously is possible because of Thiago Silva's experience and, of course, the reading of the game that he has. I think after Ricardo Carvalho, this is probably the next best reader of the game that we've ever signed. I know that's a big statement to make, but that's a fact. Like, I can challenge anyone for that. So Ricardo Carvalho was one of them who wasn't so pacey, if you remember. He read the game very well. Like, he knows where the ball is, where he was a great reader of the game. Thiago Silva is literally that. He doesn't need pace. So I still genuinely believe that he can play for one or two more seasons at the top level. Of course, not for every other match, but I think 2 out of every 3 matches that Chelsea play, he can still play because he reads the game very well. And the fact that Reece James was converted to a right centre back briefly towards the end of the season was because Thiago Silva was there, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have had anyone. Christensen was injured, and we have had, and Aspilicueta wasn't having that pace against Vardy, for example, right? And that's the reason why Tuchel invested in Reece James. Thiago Silva, I'm sure, spent a lot of time, and that is something that he brought to the Champions League as well. Because in the Champions League, the last 3 ties that we've had, right? Real Madrid, I think the first leg we had already had a kind of 1-1 draw, and we were going for that win. So for Thiago Silva and for us to keep a clean sheet was essential, and that is where like he was probably the most important player in that cog, along with Rudiger, who was slightly injured. So he had to actually be the main man. Rudiger had got that mask, if you remember, in the Real Madrid second leg. And in the final, of course, against Manchester City, it was a dream for him to win that final. I think we were seeing in the first 30 minutes that he wasn't very fit. And that is why he had, I think, made a couple of errors. And that's where on one of the headers, he went down, I think, against Phil Foden. And when he went down, he got a cramp. But again, his inspiration, like even against Atletico Madrid, I think he was not available. And when we had qualified, I think, to the quarterfinals, he was probably celebrating more than the players who were on the pitch, right? On the sidelines, I think, along with Jorginho and Mason Mount. So that shows the contribution that he's had. I think he's played an assistant coach per se on the sidelines. And even like in the final, when he went away after 39 minutes, I have actually seen videos where he's been directing, the wing back and the right back as to where to go. So that is where I see that his contribution is not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well for us to get the Champions League.
Very well said, Ankit. Thank you for taking the time to answer, to talk about that item on our discussion list. Knee over to you, brother. Can you talk about Thiago Silva's overall contributions to Chelsea's Champions League success?
Yeah, like I said again, Thiago Silva. I mean, what would I say? We all know how poorly our defense was before he joined the club, and before he joined the club, we all know how badly we've been defending. So I'll say that our Champions League winning, majority of them was also based on the defense that made us win. Like they say, always guys have to remember, goals wins games, but defense win competitions. Goals will win you the goals, will win you the game. But if you have a good defense, it will win the competition. That is what, and also people have to know this. Tuchel's style of play wins competitions. His style of play, the way we're playing, it wins. It can win every competition on the continent. So that the kind of a defense that we have, that is what transfer. Because you have to know, we're not scoring many goals, but yet we win. If you score one goal, we go ahead, we win on and win that game because we don't score many goals. But the defense, with the inclusion of Thiago Silva, Rudiger, or whoever is on the right-hand side, either Aspilicueta or Reece James, those three really know each other. They've worked together for quite some time now. That is why we're able to win the competition. So to me, our league log, wherever we find ourselves in the top 4, qualifying to the Champions League next season, winning, be able to play the FA Cup finals with Leicester City that we lost, and then be able to win, play a Champions League and win. It was the help of Thiago Silva. So he played he played at about 65% of the role into that competition. So he played. I mean, I can't say 90% because he can't play the game alone. It was help. It was being helped by other
Yeah,
defenders. So yeah, I give
yeah,
him 65% of the contribution towards the winning of that competition. So I'll give
yeah.
him
You,
65.
you made a great point because you win trophies with defense. You know, and because before he came to Chelsea, we were shipping in goals like wow. It was crazy, and then the truth
Oh,
is
good.
you cannot always outscore your opponent. You know,
Right.
so overall his I mean his impact is has been immense.
Right.
Yeah, Tyrone, are you still there?
Yeah, he was saying something.
Yeah. This time of the day just never my internet just keeps giving problems. So
Okay, can you talk about Thiago Silva's overall contributions to Chelsea's success in the UEFA Champions League?
well, you know, like like I heard with in terms of the game when we played against Atletico Madrid because he was injured, and I think it was the second leg, and he was like the assistant coach, like someone said, and he was there, he was directing the players. I'm not sure if they could hear him, but he was there, he was pointing, and it just reminded me a bit of John Terry because he had to try to find some way to be of help because he wasn't able to play. But I mean, the way he behaves, the way that he go he he helps the defenders in terms of trying to help them with their development and everything, especially the younger ones. It also has to do with the fact that he helps them in terms of giving them that push, like cheering them on, because sometimes they can't hear him, like when he says go on, good job, or like the chance that people might say. And he tends to be that assistant coach where he assists them even though he's the assistant coach. He always tends to find some way to be of help. So even though he didn't play every game in the Champions League, he played half of it. He played half of the games we had, and the way he behaves on the pitch, even when he isn't playing, especially against Man City, where he was speaking, even though the public couldn't hear him because of the distance. It shows that he has the passion as well. Because when Pulisic missed that shot, when Tuku had his face on the field and he was holding his head as well. I saw that in the unseen extra as well, and he was like, he was saying it's okay, Pulisic, even though he couldn't hear him. So he has that the ability to be of support even when he isn't playing. And sometimes they might not hear him. He tends to still do it because who knows? Maybe they end up hearing it if there's not a lot of sound surrounding, especially by the fans. So he also helps in terms of being of support to them, because it always tends to happen. And like you guys were saying previously in the stream, he's a professional. So he isn't because of all the success he has, he's humble. He doesn't try to let it get to his head. So he it's not like it's every man for himself. He tends to help them, and not because
He is
there's
all about the team.
yeah. So it's not like it's not a competition to say who, if I'm not starting, so I'm not gonna be of any help, or then if I don't
Mhm.
play, I'm just not gonna say anything or anything. He helps them, and there's not a lot of players who do that. They're just complaining about if they were on the field, this wouldn't have happened, and things like that. But when he doesn't play, he still has that attitude of he won't be able to play every game, and the only way he can help is by cheering on his teammates on the pitch.
Perfectly said, Tyrone. Thank you very much again. It's always a pleasure listening to you talk football, and I appreciate that. On a final note, because Nee will be starting a stream soon, so I think we'll be ending in a few minutes. So we'll try to accommodate whatever we can in such a short time. So, but let me ask this question before we will take a look at the questions we have in the chat and address them as quickly as possible. We'll probably make them a yes. Get a yes or no answer from the panel, or wherever necessary, a little bit of a minute or so explanation, so that we can round off as quickly as possible. The question is, would you, outside from you, Ankit, if it's up to you, would you keep Thiago Silva at the club beyond his playing career? If yes, in what capacity?
Absolutely. Like that's I would not even think a minute for that. And I think it could be like, say, Petr Cech is a classical example, right? Chelsea realized the mistake that we did by sending him to Arsenal and then eventually got him back. These are leaders, right? Those things cannot be taught, and these are people who kind of lead by example. I think such people like Paulo Ferreira, for example, has been one of the directorial capacities also, like beat scouting, beat anything. Like I would keep Thiago Silva no matter what. Of course, like him being a defender, definitely, as in if given a choice and if there is a position, there should be something like a defensive coach or some kind of a mentor even, right? Chelsea needs to create some kind of a role for him in the future. Like we've let John Terry go, and you never know, he might one day play against Chelsea as a manager. We don't want to see with Thiago Silva because he's already got that in him. I think he already said in one of the interviews also, like, just to finish off there, like he said 90% of the people given a choice that you would stay at Chelsea or would you sign for Chelsea, you would sign for Chelsea. So I have no doubt that he would sign given a choice.
Perfectly. So keep him in the capacity of defensive coach.
Yeah, I would.
Good. Fair point. Tyrone, what about you? If it's up to you, would you keep Thiago Silva at the club beyond his playing career? And if yes, in what capacity?
Yeah, I have to agree with what Ankit said about it, and he actually said exactly what I wanted to say. And yeah, I would, if it was up to me, yes, and as a defensive coach, because it would be helpful, especially with the fact that he used John Terry as well as an example, because John Terry is a leader. Obviously, he was a captain for years, but I mean, if we had John Terry right now, it would be great, because he's not only is he the assistant coach at Aston Villa, he's also one of the defensive coaches as well. So his experience as a player could help, because not a lot of coaches, had a successful career, and sometimes they use their management as a way to get the success that they didn't get. So if Thiago Silva, and it also goes back to his family and everything, and if the way that they feel comfortable, and if they like being in London, it would be great for them, because they have this love for London, and they love being here. So in that way, then it would be good for them, because they would be acceptable of being here. But it also has to do with if he doesn't want to stay for longevity, because apparently there was a report that he promised that he would go back to his his what was it, his boyhood club, I think. So he would like to finish there.
Yes,
so
he
maybe
said something.
he could go.
He wants to go back to Brazil to end his career at the club where he started.
Yeah, so he could go there and then possibly come back as a defensive coach to be of
Yeah, perfectly said, Tyrone. I think Tyrone, his internet knocked him off. Niza, I'm back to you, my brother. So the question is, I probably know, I read your mind a lot, so I probably know the answer you're going to give already, so that's okay. But I'm going to have you talk about it anyway. If it were up to you, would you keep Thiago Silva at the club beyond his playing career? If your answer is yes, at what capacity?
My answer is yes, and it's going to be in this capacity. We kept. It's just we have just one. I'll give you just one of the examples we did with Petr Cech. Petr Cech was still, although he was with Arsenal, he was still with the club. spiritually he was still with the club. That's why he was able to come to the club so easily. And then also
is Chelsea through and through.
Yeah. How do we see legends? Do we have to have a player to play with a club for years without winning nothing and we call them legends? I don't think so. Legends comes with from what I know, legends they always come with victory. That's why we see them as leaders. They have legendary quality. When they go to the battlefield, they always make sure they win. And from winning, him not being in the club for super long, but then the main objective of the football club is to be able to be into this competition and be able to win those trophies in those big competitions like the Champions League finals, the FA Cup finals, those things. And if this legend has been in the club for this period of time alone and be able to give us our second Champions League trophy, it's also a Chelsea legend. Just as of now, although whatever Olivier Giroud have done with Arsenal, all these FA Cups that he's win with them, they don't see Olivier Giroud as a legend. And I don't know, I felt it very bad to see that from Arsenal fans. But then Olivier Giroud has been assigned. I see him at Chelsea, and I know a lot of Chelsea fans see Olivier Giroud as a legend. That is what a lot of people, Chelsea fans, see Olivier Giroud, and I'm happy for him to be a Chelsea legend, just like Ashley Cole, a Chelsea legend. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how people will see other players, but I want him. I want Thiago Silva to stay with Chelsea now after his career, if he loves to be in London. And I know everybody loves to be in London. So yeah. So I'll be very happy to see Thiago Silva stays with Chelsea and then be a defensive coach as a defensive player. If Chelsea can help him to go to, be able to enhance his education and get certificates and degrees about being a defensive coach, then he can come in and then work for Chelsea as a defensive coach. And it will help the club. It will help the young players coming or graduating from the academy that see Thiago Silva as a legend, that see Thiago Silva as a role model. So I want him to be able to stay with the club, even though when his career comes to an end. What do you guys also think?
Absolutely.
So, after bien, I think Coachella is not by the stream. It's not by the.
I think probably there's an error. Yes. Now you're fine.
Now we can hear you.
I apologize. I muted myself because I was clicking on stuff and I don't want the sound to be coming through the stream.
Yeah,
so now, Neil, I was saying that I appreciate you taking the time to talk about whether or not you were going to keep Thiago Silva at the club. And like I said, obviously before time, I knew you were gonna say that you will keep him. The same with me. It's a no-brainer for me. He has to stay beyond his playing career at Chelsea. If he wants to go back to his the club where it all started for him before coming back to Chelsea, I'm all for it. But we should sign a pre-contract that once it's done there, he has to come back to Chelsea. If I have the opportunity, I wouldn't even let him leave. Continuity matters, And
then I'm going to say this. I'm not cutting you off, Mr. Host. I'm not cutting you off. Well, let me say this one thing before I forget. There's something that Chelsea had proud to the game, to the finals, that Manchester City did not have. They did not have the pedigree of legends that can say, "Hey, it is our DNA, and we're transferring this from us to you." You know what I'm saying? So we have. I watched lots of videos that build up to the finals from Solomon Kalou, DJ Drogba, Michael Ballack, and all those. All those inspirational talk were going to the players. That is also that Manchester City did not have. So we beat them. We beat Manchester City. We beat Manchester City and took the trophy even before the game was being played.
True.
So we need Thiago Silva back to the club.
Very good point. Maybe that's a topic for another stream. So yes, let's take a few minutes and answer a few interesting questions from the fans. I'll start with this question from Lee Sule. He says Adama Traore, Declan Rice, Erling Haaland, Harry Kane. Who do you think has a greater chance of landing in Chelsea in the coming season? I'll start with you, Ankit. Just pick one. Tell us why.
Yes, I think the easiest transfer out of all this would be Adama Traore, as much as that would not be the that would be the least popular among all the four.
Okay, Adama Traore. Okay, you said Adama Traore. He's a winger. You've picked a winger now, so pick a striker. That's I think Sule's question probably is main in terms of strikers. So you've picked a winger. Pick a striker.
Yeah, I would go for Erling Haaland.
And you think is the most likely? Why do you think?
Compared to Harry Kane, yes, because again, with the talk initially spoke about, with Conte being there, I can see Conte kind of convincing Kane to stay and them winning the league, etc., is what they'll go for. But even if not, right, Harry Kane to Chelsea may not happen because of the Manchester City talks. Plus the fact that he's basically an Arsenal boy, played for Tottenham. I don't see him coming to Chelsea unless we really break the bank, and we are anyway going to get Erling Haaland for that amount for another 10 years potentially. Again, that's potentially, but that's the reason that I see that Erling Haaland will be still doable in spite of him having that clause next year. I think Chelsea will go with him, and that's an easier transfer compared to fighting with Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy is totally not on for such kind of talks.
Yeah. And I think you can actually argue there's an animosity between Spurs and Chelsea. They don't have a good relationship at all, so it will be very difficult for Kane to move from Tottenham to Chelsea Football Club. And also, you mentioned something very important. Given that Tottenham they are in advanced talk with Conte, right? So if that is likely to happen, there's a possibility that Conte can convince Kane to stay, and Kane knows how pragmatic what's his name Conte can be. So he might decide to stay and win something at least. They can convince him to stay for at least one more season, because clubs do that a lot. Say, please just help us win the title. Except if Conte is sure or guarantees Daniel Levy that Lukaku will switch to Tottenham, which is very possible because he has a good relationship with Conte.
Absolutely, great point.
Yes, elsewhere, and before time I've argued that I don't see Lukaku coming back to Chelsea for two factors. One, Chelsea wouldn't like to go for him and pay something up north of 100 million or even 70 million pounds. Adama Traore, I would say it's very possible because he's a winger, and if Chelsea seriously do want him, I think they can secure his signature.
It's a big upgrade for him also, right? For Traore, it'll be a big upgrade if he comes to Chelsea, so it'll be a win-win.
Yeah, and he's good for the Premier League. It's very powerful. He can bully defenders. He can, and he's got quick feet, and also he's a good dribbler of the ball. So. Yeah, so I would actually want that one to happen. So, Nee, over to you again. On the screen, you have the question. It says Adama Traore, Declan Rice, Erling Haaland, Harry Kane. Who do you think has a greater chance of landing in CFC in the coming season? You can pick, although I believe Lisule wants you to pick just one option there, but you can pick two because we have midfielders. We have midfielders there. We have attackers there, right? So you can pick two.
Yeah. Oh, to me, it's very easy for me. It's gonna be very difficult. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, crystal clear.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult for Chelsea to do any deal with Tottenham Hotspur, and also I'm not in the would I say I'm not one of the guys that would like to see Harry Kane at Chelsea. One. We're thinking about longevity, a player that will be in the club for quite a long time. And I don't see that from Harry Kane. If I talk about long time, talking about age, if we're able to get Erling Haaland, that guy can learn because he's smart, he's young. He can learn within, half of the season, he can learn and understand the game. Maybe come up from the bench for a couple games. Once he understands and read the game very well, he can come in and that guy starts scoring goals, then we have another legend. We have another legend. So striking way, I'm going with Erling Haaland. And then also in those midfielders and wingers, and I'll go for a player that will understand that I'm not in a hurry. I'm not fighting to be in the starting 11. I'm happy to come up from the bench and be part of a winning team, a team that can help me win the Champions League, a team that can help me build up and win a Premier League trophy. And that will be no one else but Adama Traore. We see he has problem with his finishing, but I know Tuchel, the German engineer, can help him out. And we're going to see lots of these things coming up from Timo Werner. Timo Werner will be banging in goals next season. He will bang in goals. The same way, if Adama Traore have to come on the right-hand side, Timo Werner on the left-hand side with that blazing pace, just imagine. Just imagine. We have defenders who cannot defend well in the Premier League with the space of Adama Traore. Cut in or give a good cross. And then we have good finishers like Erling Haaland. Jesus Christ. We're talking about continuously winning the Premier League for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
You can see that happen.
How old is he again?
Who?
Haaland.
Haaland is about, I think, 21.
21, and at 21, so. That means, I think if Chelsea eventually secures his signature, he will be at the club for a long time. And
a long time. You're talking about a decade.
I think that's the peak for me. I'd say from the list that we had on the screen, I'd say Adama Traore, Haaland for the attack, and also, once again, Declan Rice for the midfield if it happens. But if you ask me, I prefer Denis Zakaria. Again, that's me. So we've come to the end of the stream today. I'm going to have the panel plug in themselves very well so you know how to find them. Both are content creators also. Ankit has a very unique way of presenting his own content. The same thing as Nizai. He has a very unique way of presenting his content, but they're all enjoyable and they're both knowledgeable of the club. And Tyrone from Tyrone Talks, he's a content creator also. He's very knowledgeable of the game, very knowledgeable of the club, just like the two guys you have here on your screen. And I urge you to go check out their content. They all present their content from, different perspectives, but the same thing, it is still about Chelsea and very enjoyable. Ankit, I'll start with you, plugging yourself, tell the viewers where they can find you. And please, if you visit the channel, I assure you, you will most definitely like what you will see. Don't forget to subscribe to support them and help them grow. Plugging yourself, brother.
Thank you, bro. So basically, as you can see, I'm RCBN Chelsea Fan TV. So RCB is basically a cricket franchise actually in India. That is where I'm originally from. So RCBN is what I am. So RCBN Chelsea Fan TV you can find on YouTube. I am available on Facebook as well as on Instagram as RCBN Chelsea Fan TV again. And you can find me on Twitter. I am active these days, and it's ANK. That's Ankit, the first three letters of my first name. ANK followed by 30784. That's my handle. Ankit, Ank 30784. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you. And Nizayim from Blue Clouds TV, my brother. If you haven't seen his videos, he has a very, very unique intro that we all enjoy. Everybody talks about the intro, but aside from his intro, he has great content about Chelsea FC, and I can assure you that you will enjoy it. And if you visit his channel, don't forget to subscribe and help him grow. Nizayim, please plug in yourself, brother. Tell the viewers where they can find you on social media, where you have presence. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Holtz, Coachella. And also thank you for having me here on your channel. It's always a pleasure to be here and then meet wonderful people that have been in the stream. Tyrone, and then my wonderful guy, RCBN. I also follow him and also watch his content all the time. It's amazing and very funny. And then also he makes sure he carry the main word across as we all support Chelsea fans. If you really a fan out there,
a lot of research going to his content.
Right,
Yeah, I
right.
basically
Definitely.
educates you on so much stuff you don't know about Chelsea. Go ahead, my brother. I didn't mean to cut
Yeah.
you off.
Yeah, if you don't really pay close attention to what he's saying a lot of facts and things that you have to reset. You might not know, but then he's saying something that people don't say. People don't say it. Yeah, I love him too, and I love other guys, all the guys that have been here, and then you Chelsea perspective to my brother. Thank you very much, and I love what you do. Your the way you present your content to the entire world. It's
I
also
appreciate that.
very, very nice. And then I want to say, guys, it's always normal. I mean, we got a lot of people on the screen. We got 14 likes. All those that have been here and gone, don't forget to subscribe to Blue Clouds TV. Like I said, I have a lot of things coming up in the way in an upcoming season. You guys will love it. Blue Clouds TV is a Chelsea fan channel, but then Blue Clouds TV will be covering the top 6 plus an additional team that is, playing very well in the Premier League. We'll also be covering lots of stuff around outside the Premier League, like the Spanish League, the Italian League. We'll be bringing all these things into it, and I'll update you guys every Monday when the leagues come to an end. We'll come out and tell you the leading players, goal scorers in both leagues around the around Europe. Also have my Discord server. When you go to Blue Clouds TV channel, I'll be starting my calling in segment just like you guys we're doing over here. It's gonna come from the platform called Discord. It's another new way of communicating to people. Get in there, subscribe to Blue Clouds TV server, get in there, and it'll be easy for you to be able to get a chance and call into my show. And it's not just a Chelsea channel, like I said, it involve all the top 6 teams in England. Thank you.
Always good to
Thank you
have
for
you here.
being here.
Always good to have you two, you and Kate, and I will always call back again to make sure you guys find time to be available for my streams, so that I can tap into your knowledge of the club and the individuals that play for the club. It's always awesome to have you guys. And also shout out to those in the chat: Steve Chelsea, Wakimu, Lee Sule for that wonderful question. Tommy the CFC fan, everybody, wherever you're watching from, on Facebook or on YouTube, big up to you all. The panel appreciates you, and please don't forget to check out their channel. And once the video is done processing, I will also have the links to their respective channels, so that you can go take a look at their content and also subscribe. And if you're here, if you haven't subscribed to Chelsea Perspective, please do so. And don't forget to click on the notification button so that you will always be notified whenever I upload a new video or whenever I am going live. And I hope to see you guys again. Big up. One love to you all. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too.